Welcome to the Real Time Podcast with Bishop Michael McGovern. I'm Chris Orlett, editor of The Messenger. We're here today to reflect with the bishop on life here in Southern Illinois and the church in Southern Illinois. This is part 2. Good morning, Bishop.
Good morning, Christopher. How are you today?
I'm doing well. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. Glad to be with you for part 2 of our conversation.
Well, Bishop, how can we as a local church better communicate and work together despite being such a graphically large diocese?
As I look at the first almost 2 years now as being the bishop here, we are a large geographic territory. I mean, we're not as big as the Diocese of Boise, Idaho is the entire state of Idaho, or Cheyenne, Wyoming is the entire state of Wyoming. We're the 28 southern counties of Illinois. We run from the Missouri side of the state to the Indiana side, down to Kentucky, and north up almost until Springfield, Illinois. So we have 100 churches and 27 grammar schools and 3 Catholic high schools and a Newman Center at Carbondale. We're spread out all across the state. I would say the Catholic population is more pronounced in the west when you get over to the Metro East area. As you move to the center of southern Illinois or go towards Indiana, Catholics end up being maybe 7% of the population. So we're spread out. In some areas of southern Illinois, we're definitely a minority. But I think what we try and do is bring people together, especially through our parishes, our schools, through our communications and social media, that people have a sense of being part of the Catholic Church and the Catholic faith and our life with Jesus. But I've seen parishes do good work with trying to communicate with people and help people feel connected. I think that's very important, and that's a goal for us, I think, in the next 3 years, is to try and really strengthen our communications. Just even as I've gone around, I've been to about 90 of our churches so far and been meeting people, but trying to energize the diocese, that people see this as a new moment for us as a Catholic people.
The U.S. bishops have announced a 3-year Eucharistic revival that will culminate with the National Eucharistic Congress in July 2024 in Indianapolis. Why is it especially important to celebrate the Eucharist at this time, and what liturgical celebrations are planned in the Diocese of Belleville?
Well, Chris, so much of our identity as Catholics is rooted in our life with Jesus in the Eucharist, so that when we celebrate the Holy Eucharist, the Mass, receiving Jesus Christ, His body and blood in Holy Communion, this really strengthens us in our relationship with Jesus, and it's part of our Catholic life that is so core to us. If we don't celebrate the Eucharist, if we really don't approach the Lord in Holy Communion, if we don't celebrate the sacraments, our life with the Lord can become more tenuous. Our life with Jesus is much, much richer when we are celebrating the Eucharist, when we are celebrating the sacraments and receiving Christ in Holy Communion. To think that a person who receives the body and blood of Christ in communion, you're Christified. Christ is dwelling in you in a very beautiful way, and He's feeding us. He's strengthening us. And so our devotion to Jesus in the Holy Eucharist, our frequent reception of Christ in Holy Communion, it's vital. Otherwise our faith could atrophy and our relationship with Jesus could weaken. So I think it's important to have a balance of daily prayer, several times a day to pray, to meet Jesus in the Holy Scriptures, certainly to meet Jesus in the Holy Eucharist. And so the bishops of the United States were celebrating a Eucharistic Congress in Indianapolis in 2 years. That'll be very important. But first, we're going to have a year of the Eucharist in the diocese beginning June 19th. And then we will invite our parishes in the second year to have their own local celebrations. So we'll do a diocesan year of the Eucharist first. Then we invite parishes to do something more pronounced locally, all of which leads up then to the Indianapolis gathering in the summer of, I think it's 2024, which will be a national gathering to really meet the Lord Jesus in prayer and adoration and the celebration of the sacraments in a way that really will, I hope, bring a new vitality to us as a Catholic people.
Bishop, as you know, some Catholics are concerned about the possibility of their churches or schools having to close due to the shortage of priests and the declining Catholic populations in some areas, especially in southern Illinois. Does the Diocese of Belleville intend to do anything differently in the coming years to address these issues?
Well, I think a key thing, Chris, is vitality. So our parishes should be able to offer certain services where people come together celebrating the sacraments, catechesis for young people, for adults, where people feel that they are growing as people of prayer in faith, hope, and love. I would be concerned about areas of our diocese that just the demographics are changing, areas where maybe the population is shifting, and where there's not the faith being lived by, it's a smaller group of people trying to sustain a parish. There could be sometimes economic issues. There's also just, I think, the reality of we only have so many priests to go around. And so what's the best way for us to ask our priests to serve the people in Southern Illinois? We're fortunate that we have priests of the diocese, both active and retired, but the retired men often help out. We have religious order priests. Some are oblates, some are Vincentians, like our 6 Nigerian priests we're Vincentians. We have retired priests who help out. So we're able to do many things, but as our priests are getting older and we don't at this moment have as many vocations, we're trying to turn that in a better direction. I think we have to face the fact that, about 3 years from now, we're going to kind of feel the impact of not having enough priests to serve the population as it's spread out around the 100 churches. So our people are going to need to be flexible, I would say, and really see themselves not just as one parish, but in a partnership or a family of parishes where we're trying to offer good service in an area. So not just my parish that's just a mile away, but we might have to get in the car and drive to a parish that's offering things like adult faith formation, and we have to go 3 miles for that. But that we see ourselves as not just our own one parish, but as a Catholic community united. Maybe it's going to be 5 parishes where we go, because there's services being offered in each location. And we can't duplicate all the services, but we can make them accessible to people in a reasonable amount of time.
And finally, Bishop, can you tell us about some of the new evangelization efforts being planned for the Diocese of Belleville?
Well, certainly the year of the Eucharist beginning June 19th will be a very important evangelization opportunity. Stay tuned for details about what's being offered during the coming year, beginning this summer. I also thought at the beginning of Lent, we had the 24 Hours of Mercy at the Cathedral of St. Peter in Belleville. We had about 16 priests and myself offered the sacrament of reconciliation or penance, confessions, for 24 hours from 3 p.m. on a Friday afternoon, just after Ash Wednesday, to 3 p.m. on the Saturday. We had 300 to 400, possibly more than 400 people who came to confession during those 24 hours. That was well received. People commented about it, saying, we want to see this again, and possibly in multiple locations in the diocese. What a great way to begin Lent, to meet the Lord Jesus and receive his mercy in the sacrament of penance. So that was well received. I also think of the summertime. Father Nick Fleming has been instrumental in the Theology on Tap offerings for young adults in the Waterloo, Columbia area. That's gone over big. So I think you'll see a number of initiatives beginning this summer with things we're going to offer to try and invite people to some different events and opportunities to grow in faith. And the key then is to invite a friend. Don't just come yourself. Get somebody else in your family to come. Get somebody who's a neighbor. Maybe somebody who hasn't been as connected lately because of COVID or just because of other issues. But, personal invitation. It's one thing for me to say, folks, please come to this. But when you say, hey, I'm going to Theology on Tap, I'm going to go to this special event for the year of the Eucharist, would you like to come with me? That is going to go much further in bringing people to the Lord and to these new initiatives. So I invite all of our listeners to see themselves as you're on a mission to bring more people to meet the Lord.
This has been the Real Time Podcast with Bishop Michael McGovern. I'm Chris Orlett, editor of The Messenger. Thank you for visiting with us today, Bishop.
Thank you, and I invite our listeners to come back again and join us for our next podcast. God bless you all.